The idea that a human being in gestation is, indeed, a human being is one of the most difficult things to refute. Faced with this inconvenient truth, an anthropologist from the University of Brasilia, whom I mentioned in a previous article, opts for distorting and mocking it, reducing a human fetus to nothing more than a mere clump or bunch. Yes, she said that, of cells. Such expressions reveal a profound misuse of language and ignorance at a level that would make even a subpar high school student cringe. A clump or bunch is just a random pile of elements with no order that binds them together. If a fetus were just that, then one would need to gather its cells after birth and painstakingly arrange them into the shape of a human being. It would be a hell of a job. What defines the unborn is not merely having cells, but having those cells ordered and articulated in a specific and distinct form, the form of a human being, unmistakable and unique among all animal species. There are certainly people who, after pretending not to understand for so long, eventually manage to truly not understand anything at all. These are the people who say the fetus in its early stages looks like a fish. Ms. Deborah has not commented on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if, equipped with the scientific seriousness required to confuse potential with non-existence, she might struggle to grasp the difference between form and shape, a distinction Aristotle clarified some 2,400 years ago. The author of the Organon explained that an amputated hand still has the shape, but no longer the form of a hand. Form isn't an outward appearance. It's an internal structure, a constitutive order, a principle of unity and function, or as our own Mario Ferreira dos Santos might say, an intrinsic law of proportionality. This is how the term is used in literature, music, mathematics, and all fields of knowledge. Both Os Lusíadas and a phone book have the shape of a book. The difference lies in their form, in the internal arrangement and connection of the words they contain. A statue of a human being has the shape of a person, but not the intrinsic form of a human. That is, the potential to grow and function like a human being. A fetus undeniably does. That's why those who refuse to acknowledge it as a human being have to pretend not to see its form and resort to calling it a clump or a bunch, expressions that describe precisely the opposite, elements that are unorganized and formless. Ms. Deborah changes the names of things to make them unrecognizable and thinks this is not just science, but serious science. I long ago stopped wondering whether people do these things out of stupidity or dishonesty. Dishonesty, when practiced persistently enough, hardens into genuine stupidity. Conversely, stupidity, when it exceeds the level compatible with one's position, prestige, and public responsibilities, becomes pure dishonesty. Ms. Deborah exemplifies, in a majestic way, the inseparable synthesis of these two charming qualities. Let's see. In the sentence I analyzed in the previous article, she says that the authors of the Statute of the Unborn want to grant legal personality to moral convictions, etc., etc. She not only commits the logical and semantic improprieties I pointed out, but also adds insult to injury by flaunting a legal term whose meaning eludes her. Legal personality refers to the capacity to bear rights and obligations. It's a term that does not apply to convictions, opinions, or ideas, but only to real human individuals or collectives. If she understood what she was writing, if she had even a modest grasp of the subject and language, she could have said the legislators wanted to grant legal weight or legal value to their convictions, or give legal personality to the unborn child. Granting legal personality to convictions makes no sense whatsoever. But when someone takes scientific seriousness to this level, it's not surprising that, while commenting on a legal document, they also distort its content to make it say what it does not, so they can attribute to it the meaning they wish. Thus, from the Statute of the Unborn, which explicitly allows for abortion in cases of rape, Ms. Deborah constructs a horror story where a girl who has been sexually assaulted by a stranger will be forced by the state to remain pregnant, even at the risk of irreparable damage to her physical and psychological health. We can debate for centuries whether this is dishonest stupidity or stupid dishonesty. It's like asking if the banana is inside the peel or the peel is around the banana. What I know is this: when someone displays both academic credentials and a total incapacity to think clearly about even simple matters, we're dealing with a typical specimen of today's Brazilian academic class, whose function is not to study or know anything, but to boost the numbers in pressure groups. That's why, from the vast production of scientific work in this country, little to nothing is cited or commented upon abroad. There really isn't much to comment on except from the perspective of intellectual teratology, a particularly repugnant and unhealthy field of study that only interests a handful of masochists, among whom the author of this article counts himself.